Welcome back, astronomical learners. And today's video, I wanted to talk about the importance of WH questions. So if you've ever been told that, oh, your child might have a knowledge gap, or if they're having any issues with reading comprehension, stay tuned because we're going to talk all about that. So first off, fair use disclaimer, there is some content in this video that is intended just for educational purposes, and I'm not getting a profit from this because some of the material is older that I've researched and I don't always have the resources. That's my bad, but if I do remember the resources, I will explicitly tell you where I got them from. So number one, what is a WH question? And so you might be familiar with these kind of words, but you want to understand they're important because they are essential. They lay the foundation for students to participate in conversations, to demonstrate knowledge, to collect information, to create information, and to make sense of their surroundings and themselves. So an example is when we use the word what, we're talking about things. When we use the word when, we're talking about time. When we're using the word where, we're talking about places. When we're saying who, we're asking about people. When we say whom, we're talking about object of a verb when it comes to people. When we say which, we're talking about choices. When we say whose, we're talking about possession. When we say why, we're talking about reasons and causes. And when we say how, we're talking about manner and process. So, I want you to understand that this is not perfect. No language, no human that speaks is perfect. So if you live in an area like me and some people say, well, why come did you do that? That is perfectly fine because the importance is to participate in conversations. So this is from my Cox Campus free training. So if you go through the training, you can get this as well. So what was important for me is that when my daughter was in school and she started having reading issues and they weren't immediately offering structured literacy and they just wanted to keep offering more balanced literacy and more whole language, they mentioned that in her speech screener that something came up, but they weren't explicit or clear about it. They didn't say if it was expressive speech. They didn't say it was receptive speech. And they didn't give any details, and our pediatrician didn't have any concerns. And honestly, when I went to parenting classes when I was pregnant, they never brought this up. My OBGYN never brought this up. Nobody talked about this. And when your child hits the milestones, it's kind of like, okay, great, keep it moving. Nobody talks about the nitty-gritty. So I want to explain to you that when we're talking about speaking, that is expressive. It's the appropriate production and articulation of phonemes while speaking. When we're talking about writing, that is expressive. It's the accurate spelling of words while writing, called encoding. When we're talking about reading, that is receptive. Understanding of letter sounds, associations while reading and decoding. So it can be a little confusing, especially as a parent, when we have, you come home and they say, well, your daughter doesn't really have good reading comprehension, and they don't give details because my daughter very well could have very good receptive language, but if she's not modeled or explicitly taught how to use the expressive in writing, or if she's not accurately decoding, there's going to be more to the problem. That's where structured literacy comes in. So how do we learn language in the first place? Well, this is the current theory, so that we have a Proto-Indo-Hittite kind of language map. English is connected to this Proto-Indo-European side, which is connected to Germanic and all of this stuff. So this is the current theory. But essentially, we know that oral language is learned implicitly because the human brain is wired for it. And it's mainly talking about receptive language. So how do we learn to speak publicly? Well, that is a completely different skill and it's called oracy. In the USA, we do not teach it explicitly anymore. We used to. In the UK, they still do. So if you remember ever participating in a literary contest, giving an oral presentation, or if you have ever presented a speech in front of people, that is oracy. It's learned implicitly and explicitly. It includes spoken language skills, receptive and expressive language. So what is language that we understand? So number one, understanding these WH questions is a receptive language skill. So this means it refers to how you understand language. So when I say something, you should form something in your mind or connect something, no matter how you prefer to learn it, and that it makes a connection so you understand what I'm saying. So what is the language that we speak? Actively using WH questions is an expressive language skill. Expressive language refers to how your child uses words to express himself or herself. Now, I will say this does not develop implicitly. You have to be modeled it and you have to be able to practice it. So if you never give your child WH questions, they won't know how to use them. And if they don't use them enough, even if they're modeled for them, then they won't know how. It's kind of like a muscle. If you use it, you lose it. So how do we learn to read? This is a refresher, but if you have been watching my videos, you will know that literacy is learned explicitly. The human brain is not wired for literacy. It's a human invention. So, and it also includes expressive language. So it's taught best with structured literacy. So you've seen this before in my videos. This is from Wikipedia. This is how we know in history how writing was developed. This is a human-made invention, and we have all the history, so we know exactly how to teach it. It was taught explicitly back here. It was taught explicitly there. It's always going to be taught best in an explicit way. So can you answer some WH questions from a scene? And I would say you can sit with your child and work with these together. So this is the first one, and I will shout out to twinkle.com. I got it from them free a few years ago. So this came up, I was researching because my daughter's school kind of came up with this idea of like, oh, well, we'll go over WH questions with her, and they didn't give any kind of clear instructions. So I researched this myself and found out this is what most SLPs or speech language pathologists use is a visual scene to be able to pull visual information from. So when we're looking at this birthday scene, I don't give any prompts. I just say, hey, let's look at this scene together and see what we can remember from it. So the first question is going to be, do you remember who was blowing the candles out on the cake? If you did, congrats, it was the boy. The boy was blowing candles out on the cake. Next question. Do you remember who was putting food on the table? If you remember, congratulations, it was the mom. Mom bringing out sandwiches to the table. Next question. Do you remember who else was sitting at the table? If you remember, good job. And it doesn't matter specifically if you say the girls. As long as you say the children, you got it right. Good job. So here's the answer key. So we have the mom over here, the boy over here, and the children over here. Didn't ask about the time of day, didn't ask about any colors or any specific food on the table, just some very basic questions of who. And remember, when we talk about who, we're talking about people. All right, ready for another one? Next, this is a house in the morning. So we see a sun over here. And so if, let's say I didn't get all the questions right on the first one, I would say, okay, now I know the format of this questioning. So now I'm going to talk myself through on how I can remember certain things that I'm seeing. So I see it's daytime, I see a sun, I see a bedroom right here, I see a girl in the bedroom, I see a living room right here, there's a TV, couches, there's a dog. I see there's a kitchen, there's a boy, he's eating something. I see there's a dad in a bathroom and a bathtub is full. So I don't know exactly what the questions will be, but I feel confident that I'll be able to remember the information to be able to recall and express. So the first question is, who is putting on their socks? And I'm thinking, oh yeah, that's right. I remember the girl in the bedroom, she was putting on her socks. Great. Next, who is brushing their teeth? Oh, that's right. It was the dad. He was brushing his teeth. I remember that in the bathroom. Who is eating pancakes? And I'll say, wait, I don't know if I remember seeing pancakes, but I do remember seeing a boy eating, and it was in the kitchen. That's right. It's the boy eating pancakes. And then what animal is eating too? Oh, that's right. I don't remember seeing somebody eating, but I remember an animal was in the living room. That's right. It's the dog. He was in the living room eating from his dish. Let's go ahead and see these answers. So here we've recalled that information. So the dad is right here, the boy is right here, dog is right here, and the girl is up here. Next, we have another example. This is a house at night. So we have Again, they've kept the same kind of formats in the room, so I don't have to relearn that information. We have a girl sleeping up here. We have a boy in a bath. We have a mom with a cat down here, and we have a dad in a chef's hat in the kitchen. So let's see what these new questions will be. Who is watching TV? That's right, mom was in front of the TV. Who is cooking dinner? Well, we don't know if it's dinner because we don't see anything on the tray, but that's right, it was the dad in the chef hat in the kitchen. When do families go to sleep? So this is not a specific recall question, but it's about the time of day. That's right, families usually go to sleep at night. When do families have dinner? That's right, in the evening. In the evening time, that's when we eat dinner. Why is the girl asleep? Oh, that's right, because it's nighttime. Because, I mean, she could be sick and it could be daytime and she's napping, but because we see the moon out of the window, we know it's nighttime. So these are our answers. We didn't even talk about the boy, we didn't even talk about the cat. So these are other questions that you could have brought up separately, but our answer are in the evening, we have the dad, the mom, and at night. So here's another example of a school scene during lunchtime when it's raining. So remember, we're going to make those visual references. So, oh, I see some children here on the left. I see a girl flying an airplane. It looks like it's raining outside. Looks like they're talking about the weather right here. The teacher's over here at her desk. And then we have lunchtime. It looks a little bit different weather right here at lunch. And then we have some people eating over here. We have some people eating over here. So let's see what questions come up. Where are the children eating? Well, we know they're at school, so it would be in the cafeteria. They're eating lunch in the cafeteria. Where are the children learning? Well, we know they're at school, so it's going to be in the classroom. The children are learning in the classroom. Why are the children inside? Well, let's think back. What do we see in the window? That's right, it's raining outside, so they are inside because of the rain. Why are the students in the cafeteria? Because it's lunchtime. They got to eat their lunch in the cafeteria at lunchtime. So here are our answers. So we have in the classroom, because it's raining, in the cafeteria, and because it's lunchtime. So remember, these questions can be as detailed as you want or as broad or general as you want, but it's to get your students practicing answering and even asking their own WH questions. So great job. But I want you to understand there are certain things that parents can do when it comes to the early grades of kindergarten to second grade. Number one, talk. Talk with your children. Number two, read different types of books. And I will say don't be afraid of reading books that may be above their level, because children have a lot more listening skills and receptive skills than people give them credit for. Also, find a chance to read every day, and it even counts if you're listening to audiobooks or kids-friendly podcasts or watching, there's like on YouTube, there's sort of books or read-alouds, that counts too. But definitely talk with your child about the story to help that recall. And then help your child learn sound patterns of words. So this is really good with poetry or music lyrics. And so I would say, if your child has a favorite song, print out the lyrics that you can find from Google and notice or highlight the little sound patterns that you see. Play rhyming games. I will say check your local dollar store. Sometimes they have flashcards that have rhyming cards. And then point out the letters as you read. Have your child retell stories and talk about their day. Talk with your child about what you do during your day. Give them directions to follow. Tell them or talk to them how things are same or different. Give your child chances to write. And I will also say, use the change of seasons as an opportunity to definitely see like coming up, we have October and we have fall and the seasons are changing. What is the difference between summer and fall? What are you noticing? And even narrate, even if it feels silly, definitely narrate your day. Like, oh, I'm going to get the breakfast. Or, oh, where's the milk? Ask your questions out loud. Because if your child sees that you're modeling how you're thinking, it helps inform their own internal monologue and how they're thinking. Next, when it comes to 1 to 2 years, you want to ask, what is this? While pointing to a picture. If your child does not answer, let's label that object and see if they can repeat it. You can also ask, where is this? When pointing to certain scenery of a picture. If your child does not answer, you can label the place and see if they can repeat that back. For a little bit older, 2 to 3 years, you can ask who and what they're doing questions while looking at a picture together. If your child does not answer, use a think aloud strategy where you think out loud of what you're seeing, just like you saw me do today. Now, 3 to 4 years after reading a story together, you want to start off with what and where questions. If your student has difficulty, point to the correct answer and talk them through your reasoning. Also ask why and when questions. If there's any difficulties, relate to the story in a real life experience. So this is from IMSE. Both of these are. This is in their free summer reading kits that you can download online. So 4+ years and up, after reading a story together, you want to hold your hand out and ask them 5 WH questions. So you want to ask about people and places or dogs or animals. You want to ask about the setting. You want to ask about the beginning, the middle, and the end. So really, use those WH questions in your everyday life, because the more that they're familiar with hearing who connected to people, where connected to places, what connected to things or actions, when connected to time, or why connected to a reason, it's going to be easier down the road. And what can you do in the older grades? So this is me right now. And so the truth is, keep reading with your child and keep your child reading. Be interested, asking what they're reading, what their interests are. Maybe they've drastically changed and maybe there's a new book series that they're very interested in. You can go to the library and check it out with them. Find books and magazines. There's a lot of subscriptions now. We get the Lego magazine for free. There's a Netflix family magazine that's free as well. I know you can pay for like a highlight subscription. I think there's like a Time Kids weekly subscription. It just depends on what your family likes. And then ask your child what they think about what they hear or what they read. Connect to what they read to events in their life. Help your child connect to what they read and hear at school, home, and other events. Talk out loud as you help your child read about and solve problems. Help your child recognizing those spelling patterns, and point out the beginning and endings of words that are prefixes or that have morphology connected to them. And then get your child to write letters to family members, or write thank you notes, or to keep a diary, keep a journal, or write stories. I know PBS Kids in my area has a writing contest every year, and either schools can participate or you can participate as an individual. And my kids have done it for a few years in a row and they really enjoy it. But always encourage questions. Whether your child is having difficulties answering these WH questions or not, it's important for us as caregivers to remember that we play a vital role in their learning. And the most important thing we can do is foster a love of learning and creativity, is to definitely answer WH questions in a way where a child feels satisfied. And when they thoughtfully answer these questions, or when parents can help a child reconcile new experiences, we are implying that learning and curiosity are encouraged. So there is a 30-year research study, and it actually says children who were especially curious scored higher on standardized tests and were more likely to stay in school and were more likely to graduate school compared to less curious peers. So thank you so much for watching this video, and please, not only can you stay curious, but encourage that curiosity, and you can do so by checking out new videos weekly on this channel.